Hello all and welcome to Middle Age Geeks. I'm one of your hosts, Phil, and this is my co-host, Daz. Daz, how are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. We were both telling our stories of our injuries this week, so it's proper middle-aged geeks where I have a ruptured an ankle ligament playing tennis, and Phil, you did something to your shoulder just by living life.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So fucking hopefully go and get some acupuncture or something tomorrow. Fucking the fact that I can't lift my left arm above my fucking like chest level is not a good sign.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah, luckily one half of my face hasn't slouched down yet, so I don't think it's a stroke. I should be okay at the moment. So
we'll get through the episode anyway.
We'll get through the episode, yeah, and then I'll have the I'll have one of those yokes you hang around your neck, fall risk. I'll just press that, and the ambulance will be here in no time. For those of you who are new to the show, we're essentially a movie review podcast, but we also like to delve into some other geeky stuff. So we will start off the show with some stuff in the news that's popped out for us this week that we thought you might be interested in, that we were interested in, and then we will talk about what we've been playing and watching this week, and then we'll move on to the movie review. And this week's movie review is Gladiator 2 by Ridley Scott, and Daz is going to take us through that one. So, yeah, look, let's kick off then, Daz. Why don't you tell me, is there anything in the news that jumped out at you this week?
Well, it was two bits, really. Well, first, there's just a small one where Conan O'Brien is hosting the Oscars this year, which seems like a good choice. I'm a big fan of his podcast. He's got good guests, and he's a very good interviewer. And I always like the show. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the Oscars, because I don't even think I tuned in last year. Just like not really bothered with that anymore, but hopefully he will bring the ratings back up. That might be nice. And the other one that we might have a good chat about is Game of Thrones star Sophie Turner is the new Lara Croft for the Amazon series on Amazon Prime. That's interesting casting. I'm still in the bring back Alicia Vikander. I thought she was fucking great, but obviously it's on to newer things with this show with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's creating and writing the show. And were you a fan of her in Game of Thrones?
Not at the start. At the start, I was like, Jesus Christ! Obviously she's been through a lot of shit, but we're talking every episode she was fucking moaning. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait till she gets killed, because they're killing a lot of people in every episode. It's like she's got to be getting killed out soon. But by the time we got to like Battle of the Bastards and stuff, when she was kind of gone all dark and stuff, you're like, okay, now she's kind of cool. But yeah, at the start, it's like, oh, just fucking kill her. I'll kill her. Just get her up. But it's I don't know her from a massive amount, apart from like I've only really seen her in that or the X-Men movies, So I don't know her a massive amount to make a comment on whether she's going to be decent at it. But I too thought Alicia Vikander was fantastic.
I think she deserved a bit more.
Yeah, the movie wasn't good, but she was really great in it. Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah. That was pretty much it. I mean, well, there's a Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning 2, which is now the final reckoning, which trailer dropped. The trailer is suitably epic, very long trailer, but it really gives off vibes that this is potentially the last Mission Impossible, because maybe it's just the marketing run up to it, but the way the trailer is cut and everything, that there's clips back to the first movie, and there's the bad guy the guy from the first movie is saying like all roads, everything you've done have led to this moment, and it's kind of definitely has vibes that it might be the final one. So suitably epic. I can't wait for it, but I thought it looked fantastic, and these movies are a fucking blast anyway, but it'd be a shame if it is the last one.
It would be, but I mean, at the same time, it'd also be kind of like, I'm not saying he's not still able to do these movies, but like he is getting on. And it's kind of sad to watch like I say, Harrison Ford still playing Indiana Jones, kind of like, stop it. Like, he should have went out when it was on a high. Like, I mean, Last Crusade was fantastic. Should have left it at that. It was great. Let the character go, or recast if you want to remake it or something like that. But then, like, you can see him. He is looking that little bit older, because he is. But the fact that he still does all these fucking stunts, like you see him in the trailer, he's fucking
upside down.
He's running full pelt, like fucking like looks like he's like a fucking full on sprinter. Like this, he doesn't seem to age. He obviously takes care of himself and pushes himself as much as he can. But yeah, I'd hope that they go out with a bang and just kind of leave it at that, because It would be just if you're just making another one just for the money kind of thing, then it's kind of
But
pointless. But like,
you do get the feeling though, like Tom Cruise would just never step away from this, and he'd probably produce it and say, "Yeah, I'm not doing it again." And then once they start casting people, they go, "Fuck that, I'm back in." It's just like, but you're 97, Tom. You know, it's
yeah,
grand.
just
I'll be fine. Yeah.
and he's walking along with his Zimmer frame. They're just shooting it in different angles, make it look more like
Speed
more
it up.
dynamic.
Speed it up.
Says the two guys with injuries. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuck's sake, can't even get up the stairs. But yeah, news-wise, that's about it.
Yeah. I couldn't even manage Mission Possible. That's just useless. Yeah, you know what? I don't really have it. Those are the two kind of things that I was actually going to discuss with you, Daz. Was that they were the only things that really jumped out at me this week. There was nothing really else that popped up on my radar that was super interesting.
Did you watch or play anything?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I watched. It's okay. This is not really related to video games or rather that, but I watched the National Geographic Endurance show. The Endurance, the ship. So it was so interesting. It was great. Like I fucking totally invested watching it. Like because they used AI. Like they had samples of some of their voices, and then they had interviews from like way back, fucking maybe 100 years ago of with people and stuff. But they had recordings of some of their voices, like some of the videographers and stuff that went on the journey. And like Shackleton was well ahead of his time. Like he had like state of the art kind of stuff. Well, at the time, in 1914 or whatever it was. But he had recorded it, loads of it. Like there's loads of tapes that were recovered, like film photos of the whole thing that was happening. And so they used that. They colorized a lot of it and added sound. And then but they had recordings of their voices and they used AI. So they had letters from these guys as well. And so they recreated their stuff, those letters, using AI to pick up their voices. And it sounds seamless, But yeah, that was just really, really interesting. It was good. I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes long, and it's them looking. It's in us in modern day looking for the Endurance, and they find the ship at the bottom of the thing first. It's a massive thing. This is a couple of years ago when they found it, and it was this massive big thing of holy shit. They found it. Going to fucking Antarctic to find this sunken fucking ship from 100 years ago, and they managed to find it. But no, it's thoroughly interesting. Really enjoyed it. Apart from that, not a lot of new stuff. I think Silo has started back this week, so I'm going to give that a few episodes to let it kind of build up, so I have a few to watch in a row. But yeah, apart from that, no, fuck all, no.
Happy days. I actually got into. Well, I tried watching the Aussie Office. I don't know if you tried it.
Right?
Yeah. I couldn't really even get through the first episode. It's not great. It's not really funny, and it comes across as very lazy and tired. And when you just even start watching something, and straight away you're just like, there's no point. I'm not going to get past this episode or even get near watching a season of this. Yeah, which is a shame. I got stuck back into Lost is my new kind of jam halfway through season 1, and like I know I picked it up in season 2, but I can only imagine what it was watching the first season of this back in the day, back in that week to week TV that I love. Like we've talked about this before. Like I hate this whole being able to binge watch shows and not being able to chat to people about specific points that you're in shows, where you might watch something like Stranger Things or something when it came out and you'd say, I've watched all 8 of them, but I've only watched 2, and you're on different points. But I can imagine what Lost was like seasons week to week, where you're just like, holy fuck, like the black smoke turns up and stuff. It's just like, that's still one of the most mental choices in a TV show I think I've ever seen in my life. Black smoke monsters. What the fuck is going on? But that's pretty much all I've watched. Playing wise, I got stuck into. I'm still playing Call of Duty. I actually got into the multiplayer a little bit. And straight away, like within about 5 seconds, I was in a online lobby with these fucking gobshites chatting shit. Straight away, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, they're just like, yo, what's up? I'm gonna fucking kill you, man. I'm just like, oh my god, like, and
mute.
One was definitely like an 11-year-old child, but then the other person like chatting shit with it just like sounded like he was 60. Just like, what the fuck is going on? And that instantly just puts you off, So I played a few games, which is a shame. Like, I'm probably not going to play that much of it based on just that lobby and chat and stuff, but did pretty well. Got 30 or 26 kills in my first run through, and second place. I was like, yeah, this is pretty fucking good. But then straight away you get into the post match screen of, you can customize your loadout now because you've got this skin and then this, and you can add this on, and it's just, I'm not going to invest any time in that again. You're just like, maybe 10 years ago, I'd be all over that shit, just going, all right, gotta, play 3 or 4 hours every night. But yeah, couldn't really be bothered. But I started playing the multiplayer because I was really enjoying the single player. But like the single player got to a point where the it was going very well. But then I had heard that there's a level where you get there's some toxic gas that sends you kind of trip out a little bit, like some of those Far Cry missions.
Yeah,
you're just hallucinogenic and stuff, and that was kind of cool, and it was starting to go a little bit trippy, and you're in like a government facility, but then there's all these kind of mannequins around the place, and
human mannequins,
mannequins and horror elements of mannequins. So there's points where when you turn your back, when you turn back, they've all moved a little closer to you, and they're kind of trying to chase you. And then then the lights went out, and you were going around with a flashlight, and just like, nah, I'm not getting through that level. It's just fucking trying to play it at 1 o'clock at night. It's just absolutely just terrifying, and it's not meant to be terrifying. It's just meant to be a bit creepy and cool. But yeah, I instantly bounced off that. I was like, fuck that. So that's the end of Call of Duty for me. But I did get stuck into another game. One of these another random indie game from 2021 called Road 96, and it's on PlayStation Plus. I'd never heard of it either, and it's a story-driven kind of adventure game. It's set in a fictional country, U.S. fictional country of Petria or something like that, and you play as multiple missing teenagers as they try and get out of the country, going across the desert and stuff, and trying to get to the border to escape because there's political turmoil. It's very relevant to now. There's a kind of a dictator-like person, and then a female, Republican person. But as you're trying to get out of the country, you come across like about 8 or 9 recurring characters, and in different little they're just little kind of short story missions where it's more narrative than anything kind of gameplay wise. And they range from like, there's a delusional right-wing reporter, you meet a cop with a missing kid, a teenage musician rebelling against her political father, and all this, and like a murderous taxi driver at one point. But my first run through, like, the game is about 7.5 hours, but I was about an hour into it, and I got into a taxi and chatting away with this guy, and then you hear something in the boot, kind of screaming in the boot. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And the taxi driver stops, and you try and ignore it, and then he goes out, and you hear him dealing with the person in the boot, and he comes back in, and I asked him, like, what the hell was that about? In your narrative choice. He said, well, it's one of those good news, bad news scenarios. Good news is I dealt with the person in the back. The bad news is, and he turns around and just shoots you in the fucking head and kills you. And you're like, holy shit. And that's the end of that run. And then it starts with a news report again, the news report about some missing teenagers who've gone search of the border, and you choose which one you want. And then you go back in, you play through it again, and you still meet all these characters again in different kind of scenarios. And
well, that's cool, yeah.
It's really, really cool. It's like I'm probably about halfway through it now, but yeah, wrapped up in that completely. But yeah, it's on PlayStation Plus, free to play if you have it. It's another wonderful indie gem I think I found this year. It's just some of my best moments gaming have been from indie games that I didn't even know existed until when I downloaded them. So, but yeah, that's pretty much everything I have watched and played this week.
Class. Actually, yeah, I must, because my thing is due for renewal, my PS Plus, and when they jacked with the prices, last year I wasn't going to renew it, but then Black Friday they had like a fucking whatever 33% off. So like if they do Black Friday again this year, I'll probably get it again. But otherwise, they can get fucked. I'm just not happy with the massive price increase that they had. It's just really pissed me off.
Yeah, it's been
yeah. So look, okay, well, look, with those opening sections out of the way, why don't we get moving on then to the to our main section, which is our movie review. And Daz, you're going to take us through Gladiator 2. So take it away whenever you're ready.
Happy days. Yeah, Gladiator 2. This was a strange one to review because I think the hype was strange for this in multiple ways. Where The trailer obviously dropped and didn't go down well with the poor choice to put, I think, a Jay-Z tune on the trailer, which backfired completely. And then a lot of the hype was around people just hoping that it wasn't going to be a complete fucking mess and ruin the memory of the first movie. So we'll set the scene, and it's Ridley Scott's follow-up, obviously, to his 2000 movie, the multi-award winning, won Oscars for Best Picture, won 5 Oscars, I think, Russell Crowe, and Best Picture. And the movie stars Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, Connie Nielsen, Joseph Quinn, and a number of others. The movie follows Paul Mescal's character, Lucius, a captured slave who seeks revenge for the loss of his wife and rises through the gladiatorial ranks under the possession of a mysterious mentor. And if that sounds familiar, it's because that's about the first 2/3 of this movie, no spoilers, are pretty much identical to its predecessor in almost every way. It's a budget of 210 million. Some of that is well spent, and other parts of that are not well spent. We'll get into that. And just before I get your thoughts on it, but I'd love to chart this sequel's journey to the screen slightly, because I looked into this more, and it's like I remember at the time, like obviously in a year later in 2001, there was murmurs of a sequel, and I remember back then just going, but what? How are you going to do a sequel? Because he's dead, and it's such a complete story. It's a movie that doesn't leave any questions unanswered, no plot lines unresolved. It's deceased protagonist and all this stuff. Or as Commodus says, the general who became a slave, and slave who became a gladiator who defied an empire. Fucking epic shit. We don't need a sequel. But obviously it was a commercial and critical success, so they went for it. But there was all, like, Ridley Scott, I don't know if you remember, he was talking about maybe it being in the afterlife and following Maximus into the afterlife. And at that time, you just went, that's a pretty weird fucking idea for a sequel. But development halted when I think DreamWorks sold the rights to Paramount. But Russell Crowe was adamant, to be in a sequel. So he hired Nick Cave to write a draft of this. Nick Cave, the musician, but who would churn out scripts from time to time.
Yeah.
Nick Cave said to him, yeah, okay, but didn't you die in the first movie? Russell Crowe said, yeah, just you sort that out. And sorted out he did. And Nick Cave went fucking bananas on this. And he made a movie about Crowe being brought back to life by the gods to help them kill another god, Hephaestus. And then he's brought back into the real world, and he's fighting Commodus's nephew, and he's training a secret fucking Christian army or some shit. And the end of it, and this script is online because I was reading through bits of it, and the end of it follows Maximus and this Christian army as they go through every war up to present day, like the Crusades in Vietnam, fucking World War II, into the Pentagon and stuff. And the whole thing was that Maximus had the messages, he condemned humanity to an eternal cycle of bloodshed. And Crowe's response was, yeah, I didn't like it. But Nick Cave said he didn't give a shit. He said it's a masterpiece because he wrote it knowing that on every level, none of it would ever get made. It's just and it's online. It's fucking brilliant. We've put a link to it somewhere. So then that's all happened in the fucking past. And in 2018, then Gladiator 2 was announced, and Paul Mescal was revealed as the lead in 2023. And that brings us to where we are now. And as you said, the hype around this was, for me personally, I wasn't really buzzing about it. Even before the trailer, it was kind of so much time had passed. And once you go over 10, 15 years with a sequel, it's just, you just really get worried that how is it going to link to it? Is it even relevant anymore 24 years later? So for this movie, I mean, for me, I guess I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's fine. I kept telling myself that I think this, there's nothing really, the things that are bad about it, and we'll get into it, are kind of personal things that you try and not compare it to the first movie, but it's so glaringly obvious that this movie is so connected to the first movie because it almost is the first movie for a lot of it.
Well, yeah, it's like you texted me, Daz, and you were saying it's this is the Force Awakens of the Gladiator world.
Yeah.
That's because that is it's just I felt like I was watching the same movie again, but just not as good. It's
Yeah,
Oh, it's
like that's
yeah,
that's that's the main point throughout the whole thing was like, um, you're just remind you like the narrative and story beats are so similar. They're like for about 2/3 of the movie, save for a few different elements or locations, and and characters and all that kind of shite. But it's so it's so obvious. You're kind of going, I've seen this before, and I've seen it better like 24 years ago. Just like I know it's his son and all this stuff, and it's great, and it has to be about a gladiator and somebody becoming a gladiator or whatever. But it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same
yeah.
journey he kind of goes on. And I think you're just constantly reminded that the first movie is superior in every way to this. Save for maybe like the last act, we'll get to it, where it gets a bit clever and tries new things in terms of the political side of it. But yeah, what were your thoughts coming out?
Like that. I mean, I'd walk out going, Jesus, like there's so much of this that was going, that's pretty much the same. They've just rewritten
Mm,
the first one. Like, to be honest, I think that a far more interesting character was Pedro Pascal's. I would have liked to see that story. This, what I mean? I won't go into it until we
absolutely.
get to the spoiler section. But I found his character way more compelling, and I would have liked to have seen where that went.
Mm,
Like it's fine. Like it's not that, again, like you said, I didn't walk out going, oh my god, what a piece of
mm,
garbage. What the fuck was he thinking? Um, it was fine. It was just like I said, it just felt like kind of a cheap copy of what was a
mm,
once fantastic movie. And I know they tried like Paul Mescal again. His character, yeah, sure, he's more charismatic than Russell Crowe's character
mm.
was in the first one. Because there's a good bit of humor in his role,
Yeah,
whereas there was pretty much zero humor in Russell Crowe's. But it's so similar. The black guy and he's tending to the wound, all that kind of stuff, exactly
yeah,
the same as the first one when the roles were reversed. But like it's so much of it is the same. Denzel Washington is almost plays the same character in every movie.
yeah,
But this was a little different. There was a little more edge to him, and
yeah,
but a lot of times it's just like, oh, you don't fit in this movie at all. Like it just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just like a
Like
man out of
like
time kind of thing.
I think like he steals every scene he's in, and he
Yeah,
eats up the screen because he's Denzel Washington. But a lot of it is that it's like this, like you're working in this movie and you're elevating the scenes you're in, but there is that point of view that's going, but why are you in? You don't seem like you belong here. He's so lavish. He's so
he's like a time
extravagant.
traveler. Yeah, he's a
Yeah, yeah,
time
yeah,
traveler who's gone back to change the course of history.
yeah. And
Which,
he
if
does make
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the best costumes in it. It's like some of his giant fucking robes he goes around moving, and just kind of going, I want one of them for fucking Christmas. Looks
Oh, I
fucking
want one of fucking
absolutely
what's his
fantastic.
face. Pedro Pascal has this fucking badass white and red or white gold kind of
Oh yeah,
fucking thing.
yeah,
He has
yeah.
it
The
like, oh
white and
man,
gold thing.
that's awesome. I'm gonna show up to somebody's wedding wearing one of them. That one, just upstage everybody like fucking sword, shield, the whole lot.
But yeah,
Yeah, but
but yeah, go.
the money looks well spent. The effects for the most part are
Mm,
really really good. The acting is fine. I know the characters themselves were dickheads. The two twins were absolute
oh yeah,
dickheads. And also for twins, like there's a very noticeable age gap. Like
yeah.
Joseph Quinn is well older than the other guy. Like, and
Mm,
I think in real life, he's like 6 or 7 years older than them, and it tells. You look kind of go,
mm.
there is no way that these guys are fraternal twins. It doesn't.
And you're kind of, I was thinking like how, because it's 16 years after the events of the first movie, but I kept thinking how did it get from there, the end of that, to this? I didn't know how did these twins get into power? Who the fuck are they?
No,
I
I'm not
didn't.
entirely sure.
I don't think maybe that like there's an intro kind of text thing or whatever at the start, but I don't. Yeah, there was moments where I was just going, like I was enjoying their kind of evilness because they are absolute fucking wankers.
Yeah, I love their
Just Quinn
performances. I thought they were great.
he looks like possessed. He's phenomenal as a bad guy. He looks so fucking evil. His I can't remember his twin brother. Yeah, the younger guy he's a bit more kind of slapstick on the kind of caricature side of things. Maybe he's supposed to be the simpler one or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, I enjoyed them. Pedro Pascal, I like 100% agree with you. I think he's the most interesting character in it because you think it's going one way with him being, oh, is he the evil guy or whatever, and then he's not. He's Connie Nielsen's like husband, and he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing. But I thought he was great. Paul Mescal, I think is fucking great. He's fine physically. He looks the fucking part and stuff. But there's the problems again with how the comparisons between him and Russell Crowe is like this whole thing of somebody being a leader and, you know, becoming a slave and then becoming a gladiator. Russell Crowe looks like a fucking general. He looks like somebody you'd follow into battle. He just looks the absolute part. Paul Mescal,
Yeah.
while kind of looking the part and has the nose and the profile to be like a, you know, this kind of Roman or gladiator, just he looks the part from that. But you kept looking at him just going, you're just you're a little kid. Like you're very obviously in your 20s. Like you could pass for 22 or 28, you know, and it's just following into battle. I'm not too sure. I don't think that's as believable. That's why I think they should have, the fact that they're mirroring the first movie, and as much as, again, you don't want to get into comparisons, but you're looking at, they both have a similar journey, and Russell Crowe's journey is more believable because you believe that he would lead people and people would follow him, and he's just, yeah, he's not as smiley or whatever. He's a bit fucking stoic and a bit of a badass. So I think they should have altered the story of Paul Mescal's character not to mirror that, because I just didn't find that as believable. He looks like somebody like who'd be on your team, you know, in a war or something that you have a few beers with and have a bit of crack, you know, and it's like, yeah, but follow into battle, not too sure. Like he's very likable, but I just don't, yeah, that kind of didn't work for me. And there's a lot of that through the film where it's just like, this has been done before and it's been done better. But again, you're not to the point of going, he's miscast or anything. Everything that I didn't really like about it is, it's hard. It's like trying to be objective, but it's more so because the movie very obviously reminds me of the first movie, which is better. And that's why this movie, I came out of it not that high on it, but
yeah,
but it's not a bad movie. It's a fucking weird one. Like, will we get into our ratings before we get into spoilers then?
yeah,
Because there's so much to talk about in this movie.
yeah.
What would you give it?
I'd probably go probably a 3. I'd probably give it a 3. I think like it's because it's entertaining enough, mildly entertaining, you know. But it's hard. I know we're supposed to take these movies and go, well, just let's let it stand on its own merit. But when a movie is so tied into what the original one is and is basically hitting the same beats, it's very hard to judge it as its own individual movie because it is mostly taken from the first one. But it's just, yeah, the performances are fine. But like that, the main character, I would agree with you. He doesn't have that kind of, there's no, like there's some sort of grandiosity almost to Russell Crowe, because he was a general, as you said. It's not just looks like when he was a general and got knocked down. You know, this guy's just a guy from a land whose thing was conquered, you know, when he got fucking thrown into slavery.
Because they show him kind of trying that he's in charge of some people, but there's no obvious like, oh, he's a leader and then he gets demoted down to fucking slave or whatever, where you have Russell Crowe is like, it opens with him on a fucking battlefield and it's just like badass. He's an absolute general, but this guy Paul Mescal is just like, yeah, you don't get a sense that he is in command of anybody, but they try and show that with a few scenes where he's like, oh no, do this, but you just don't really know who he is, because it starts and he's just a farmer, like just in a grain field or something, and yeah, it's quite bizarre that they didn't have him portrayed as a more lofty role, you know. It just didn't.
Yeah, and I think as well that they tried to swing for having things that were from the first one, but make them bigger. You know, like we had our, you know, like tigers in the first one, and like it was very, I think as far as I'm aware, it was very rare that they actually fought animals in the Colosseum. But like they had tigers in the first one, and this one they're like, right, well, we've got a bunch of fucking angry baboons, and then we've got
what's the story about
the rhino,
monkeys, like, or the baboons?
Yeah,
are they fucking demonic? They, like, does that animal exist? What the fuck have they been eating? They're manic. Like, that was very off-putting.
Yeah, they're evil looking as shit. Like, but I think they tried to up it in a lot of places. And we'll get onto the thing that's from the trailer and the boats. Like, but some of the I did love. There's a couple of parts I really did enjoy. Like I thought the opening credits, the painterly kind of style where they kind of recap the first movie. Loved that. The whole battle at the start with the ships and you know, laying siege and stuff.
Visual effects at the beginning,
really great.
Ships in the water. I was like, holy shit, this looks like premium blockbuster. But then, yeah, there are bits where VFX. I thought the demonic baboon monkey fucking things were. Thought they looked awful. Some of that water in the Colosseum, where they flood the Colosseum, some of the sharks look a bit dodgy, and like know what you're saying. They said, oh, let's make it bigger and badder, better. But I think nothing matched just that simple fight with that guy in that scene, the first movie with the tigers, and that guy with just his metal faceplate.
Love
like
that.
and that's
Yeah.
just a single one-on-one fight. That is fucking amazing. I watched that back a few days ago, and it just holds up. That it looks like, even though Russell Crowe is this fucking amazing gladiator, this guy is just brute force, and you're kind of going, how the fuck is he going to beat this guy? But nothing happened in any of these major events in this movie that had me on the edge of my seat. It was more the one-on-one battles that were still a lot more pleasing to the eye than flooding the Colosseum. That's great, and somewhere in a text it says they did that, and that's wonderful. But watching just fucking a naval battle in the Colosseum,
kind of like they for that kind of thing, they had like very like flat bottom versions of these ships, and the water was up to a certain level, and most of the time when they had these things, it was on purpose built stages for that kind of thing. Whereas in this, and you'll see it in the trailer, they're filling the Colosseum with water, and there's like these spouts that are spouting the water in, like as if they're purposely built for it. Like, well, where is the water coming in that it's coming out at such force through these yoke to fill the Colosseum? Why isn't it all going back out, like out the bottom of it? Like where it's all there. Doesn't make the height difference doesn't make any difference. The sharks. Where did you get the sharks? Even if you managed to catch the sharks, how did you get the sharks to Rome? How did you get them in and then where did it all go afterwards? A couple of days later, they're fighting again. The whole place is bone dry. There's fucking, and there's all little corridors. You see them when they go down. It's all very narrow corridors to get into these different things. Whereas
underneath,
the fuck? How did they get these boats in? Like they're fucking pushing them through these doors as if these massive doors lead out to the ocean or something. It was just, it was just that scene. I get it. He's artistic license, something that kind of, similar might have happened, but like this was way over the top. I was watching it going, is this Pirates of the Caribbean? I'm watching here a lot.
Just like, why is there naval battle in the Colosseum? That's just, I kept like the amount of time I was looking at that, and I had notes that just said, yeah, it looks cool. Probably it was cool on paper when somebody wrote it. Visual effects are, pretty decent, but it didn't excite me at all. It just said, this is just silly. Like just have guys fighting with fucking swords and shields. Just like these two fucking boats having a naval battle in the Colosseum. Just like, leave that to the water, lads. Fuck off. I'd probably go for 3 stars as well. It's 2.5 hours, and I don't think I was bored that much, but I wasn't engaged at all. I would have been more engaged if the story was slightly different, because when we get into it, where it goes to in like the third act, which is a little more engaging, what preceded that wasn't enough for me to care when it got to that last act. I was already kind of switched off a bit, just didn't have as much depth as the first movie, which is, and again, it's just going to be a lot of comparisons in this, and I apologize, but it's, when you see the movie, it's incredible how much it makes you think about the first movie. I couldn't remember the score playing at all in this fucking movie at all. Maybe like once or twice music, but just nothing memorable until later on in the movie. Towards the end, they play the song from the end of Gladiator, and I was just Lisa Gerrard, Hans Zimmer, and you kind of gone again straight away. You're just reminded of a far better movie, it's a shame. So but go and see it, because if you can avoid those comparisons, it has the potential for someone else to kind of come out. And I heard people coming out of it when some people beside me met somebody in the lobby, and they said, went to see Gladiator, fucking deadly, and it was father and son, they both loved it. So
people clapped in my cinema.
Fuck off, did they?
Yeah, 100%. I watched it in Coolock, and people were fucking, people were clapping. I'm not sure if they were clapping because it was over, or clapping because they really enjoyed it. But no, there was like it started off with 1 or 2 people, and a bunch of people were all clapping. I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, some people definitely did enjoy it. So this is just our opinion, So check it out for
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. But yeah, 3 stars. Go see it. So that's our spoiler-free section. Spoiler section. We're just gonna kind of skip through because it's a long movie. And there's a lot
Yeah,
to it, scene by scene, and if you've seen the first movie, you've seen an hour and a half of this movie already. The main, as you said there, like the intro, I fucking loved that. It's kind of bringing you up to speed with a retelling of the first movie through scenes of the first movie, but kind of animated and kind of watercolor kind of paint, kind of like the Ridley Scott logo. Almost just kind of goes straight from that into it. I thought that was really cool, really inventive, and that was probably the best part of the movie. So then we learn, it's 16 years later. There's these twin evil emperors, and the city is about to fall. And we're introduced to Paul Mescal's character, who is, it seems like he's just kind of some farmer, and Pedro Pascal is captaining one of the ships in the Roman armada that invade his. I can't remember what his country is called. Is it
Numeria or whatever it's
Numeria or
called.
Nvidia or something like that? And the
Wait,
visuals on this.
wait. I just thinking. I was like, waiting a second. Is Numeria not where from Marvel, where Namor and stuff is from? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, let's go with that for now.
Mm.
But yeah, the visuals on this battle are fucking brilliant, and we see like Paul is kind of like, we'll call him Lucius. Paul Mescal's character Lucius is kind of leading the defense, but yeah, he just doesn't really have that general vibe. But the scale is brilliant, and like the fireballs and archers, and it's fantastic. But then Paul Mescal's wife dies. She gets an arrow to the chest. That Pedro Pascal's character, the general, he didn't fire the arrow, but he saw Paul's wife raining havoc from above.
She was taking dudes out left, right, and center.
So
he
said, "Get her down," or whatever.
Yeah.
So Paul Mescal sees Pedro Pascal give the order to kill his wife, and that sets up this whole vengeance thing. But then, like, Lucius gets knocked off a fucking wall or something into the water. But there's a moment like he has this dream thing under the water and shit. But then he just kind of rises up out of the water. You're just like, how long were you down there? Are you sleeping under there? Are you dreaming under there? What the fuck is going on? But there's a nice thing then when he finds his wife. And did you see later on in the movie, actually, like he still has the end of the arrow that he breaks off from her. What the fuck is that
I'm
about?
I'm not sure how he managed to hang on to that the whole time.
Yeah, because he has her and he breaks off the end of the arrow that's in her. And yeah, later on, maybe once or twice, you see him holding that as if it's, it's to remember his wife or something. But it's not the most memorable. Take the ring she had in her hand. They exchange rings and stuff. It's like carrying a piece of wood. I don't know where he was fucking hiding it. You'd imagine somewhere, I don't know, up his ass or something. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere where what's his face, Christopher Walken was hiding that watch in Pulp Fiction.
And we get some kind of shocking imagery of the Romans after they've taken the city, burning all the dead bodies, and it's must have been fucking horrible. And the remaining people are chucked on ships, and Pedro Pascal then arrives back in Rome after a glorious conquest. This is when we meet those evil emperors, and they're suitably nasty, where Pedro is saying, he just wants to spend time with his wife now, and the emperors are like, no, we want more, we want India, Persia, and all this kind of stuff. And that's when we get the idea that Pedro Pascal's General Acacius is his name, where he is not the big bad. He's really like, he's just doing this because, they're in charge of him, and he's sick of them and he wants to dethrone them and all this kind of shit. But yeah, like this retreading all the fucking first movie, like in the outskirts of Rome, the prisoners arrive, and very similar to first movie, the small arena, we meet Denzel Washington's character, and he watches the prisoners enter the arena and they're fighting, and he's just like, ooh, he spots Paul Mescal's character. They're like, oh, he's one to watch, I'm going to buy him or whatever. But this is the part with those fucking crazy monkeys, and like, I thought the visual effects in these fuckers was really weird. Like there's moments where Paul Mescal's character grabs one of them and he's rolling around the ground and trying, like, and it's pretty fucking intense scene with the monkey. But like, there's bits where he's trying to grab him, and and you can see the monkey is not quite lining up with his hands. The
Yeah,
way
yeah, yeah.
you think like we've sorted this in green screen, like Game of Thrones and stuff. If you're holding a dinosaur egg, you hold a green fucking thing, or a dragon's egg or a dragon's fucking arm or something. It's a green something you put your hand on, it matches up, and they replace it later. And with this, it's just like, it was shockingly fucking shoddy, which kind of makes you think that they changed the scale of these monkeys at some point. Did they change something about them? Didn't quite line up. But that was like, he spends a long time fighting this one monkey, and there's about 10 of them in the arena. And then when he kills that monkey, turns around, all the other monkeys are gone. It's just like, what
There's
fuck?
one of them. You see one monkey in the background and look over, like going, shit, I'm off, and he legs it off. Where's
so
the rest of them? Like,
where's the rest of them? So if he's so special for killing this monkey, but everyone else killed him as well, just like, that was that really annoyed me. But this is where we kind of get our proper introduction to Denzel Washington, and he's
basically Oliver Reed. He's Oliver Reed.
He's Oliver Reed's character. Yeah. What do you make of him? We talked about him being over the top.
Yeah,
seems to be over the top.
Wrong,
he's really good, but he's
great, and I love the scenes he's in. He's fantastic. It's just he just doesn't feel like he's from a different time almost, and his character kind of switches from being this kind of calculating thing to being like fun and slappy, having jokes and stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's I don't know. He's difficult one to pin down. Because he's almost making like sexual jokes at certain points, but at other points it's all about the glory. And then you see, oh, actually that's not his plan at all. Gladiators, he actually wants to become part of the Senate and get power. And I was just, what does he want? I couldn't really nail him down as a character, and his motivations were kind of they seem to jump. Move around.
I think they try and play that as him being mysterious. It's kind of like, oh, he's mysterious.
Yeah.
Do we know his intentions? But also, sometimes it seems like the character itself doesn't know his intentions from scene to scene. It's kind of, it's not a bit all over the place, but he's an interesting character. But he obviously gets more screen time than Oliver Reed in the first one. And he's in this movie a lot more than I expected him to be in it. And I wonder, is that's how you get Denzel Washington on board? He's not going to play a supporting role in a movie like this. We should have known it. But yeah,
But what a game! Like what a long game to be playing. Like if that was his plan all along, was to get up and be, get on the Senate and be in power. Talk about a long game. Okay, I need to find a really good gladiator. I need to get him in, get him. Make sure this gladiator wants to kill the general, because you'd have to get that going. There's all these different things that had to fall into place.
Very convenient,
yeah. But again, like I said, I did enjoy him though. I mean, he's, like you said, he eats up the fucking scenes that he's in. He's fun, and yeah, his what ultimately happens to him is fucking badass. Like when he comes to his end. But like it's I didn't mind him. I would him and. What's it called? Pedro Pascal were definitely two most enjoyable kind of performances. It's just
absolutely
what I'd like to see more of. Yeah.
And we also get to see Connie Nielsen and Pedro Pascal. They have a couple of nice scenes together, but they organize to meet, like this. That's the kind of subplot where they want to meet the Senate in secret to plan to take Rome back from these fucking these two dickhead little emperor pricks. Connie Nielsen's great. Like, she just doesn't seem to have aged a day.
No, but she's also upset in every scene. She's just upset about something because everything is so harrowing, and this is her son, and that's her husband, and this stuff. Like every single one, she's just, God love her. Just horrible shit happened to her. Every scene she's in, she only has one like happy scene when she kind of gets a hug off Paul Mescal, who finally kind of recognizes her as his mother after ignoring her and stuff. And you're like, okay, she gets a bit of levity there, but for the most part, every scene she's in, you're just like, oh, you poor bitch. Like it's harsh.
She's a tough one, yeah. But let's get to Rome then. Like when the slaves arrive in Rome, we get introduced to the Colosseum, and again, I remember this from the first movie when you're just like, fucking wow, whatever. This is just fantastic. But this time it just doesn't have that same, it doesn't hit you the same way. But we have like the barbarians waiting to go on, and then we have our first kind of big fight, which is from the trailer. I remember you saying just like, what the fuck, why do they have a rhino in this fucking thing? It's some dude standing on a rhino, enters the arena, and again, some of the animal VFX in this are a bit fucking shoddy. Some of this is good, but a lot of it is I just think it's just too much. Just like, why is he on a rhino? It'd be more terrifying if he just fucking standing down. He's got a swinging a fucking, an axe on a chain or something like that. What do you think about the rhino scene?
Yeah, well, look, I thought it was bananas. Like, I get it. Like, even I hated the rhino scene in Black Panther as well. As I don't get it. Like, these are wild animals, and he walks in. He's standing on the saddle when he walks in. He has this thing so fully under control. He doesn't just ride it like a horse. He's standing up on it and going to the crowd like he's fucking. He has this thing under his command. It's like, this fucking rhino. How the fuck did you train this goddamn rhino to not only know who it's supposed to attack, but to not attack you and like follow the fucking reins? Right? This is not like a horse, but it's fucking bananas. It is, yeah. Like it's. I mean, the way he kind of distracts it with the phone, basically throwing some gravel in the air like it's a fucking smoke bomb, and he gets hit anyway.
Yeah, because and again, you kind of that's like with trailers for stuff like this. I know you want to get bums on seats and stuff, but they showed that exact impact with Paul Mescal getting kind of hit by the rhino. They show that in the trailer, so this whole build up, we're like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And you see him bending down, like, and picking up some of the gravel, and Connie Nielsen from the stands is looking, she's just like, oh, I know someone who picks up gravel like that. It's like, fuck's sake. He must be my long lost son. It's like, oh my God almighty. How people realize who he is in this movie is astonishing. Just like, is he the only person who picks up like gravel and just does this with his hands? Like, I don't know. And later on, Denzel Washington figures out who he is, like, sees a statue and just like, oh, I know someone who looks like that statue. But yeah, that the fact that they show in the trailer that it shows exactly what happens. There's no fucking tension in the scene whatsoever. I hated this, and we'll get onto the naval thing. I hated that even more so. So yeah, so the guy falls off the rhino, and Lucius and this guy have a little fight, and the guy kind of bests Paul Mescal, and the we get that fucking thumbs up from the Emperor kind of shit again, and it's just like, I don't know, that's obviously a real thing they did back then, but it's like, what are they going to do? And he puts his thumb up for mercy.
He puts his thumb because the crowd are all. Connie Nielsen says give mercy, and the crowd are all shouting for give mercy because they love him, because he's fucking he's the guy who killed the monkey. You know what I mean? And so so he puts his thumb up, and then Paul Mescal's like, no, I'd rather die than get mercy from a Roman or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then he fights him, and again we get another shot that's in the fucking trailer where he just beheads your man with two fucking swords, and it's just nothing around this scene in at all. Like, got my fucking pulse racing in any way, shape, or form. And you're kind of, I know what they're trying to do. It's just like to make it bigger, and let's put a fucking rhino in there. Cool, yeah, but let's show all the fucking action beats in the trailer. It's just like, it's just, these big moments just fell incredibly flat for me. But yeah, after that, like Connie Nielsen, his mom, goes in to meet him, and he's just like, go fuck yourself, you abandoned me. He says, that boy is dead to her, and poor Connie is just like, oh, for fuck's sake. So as you're saying, she just looks miserable in the scene. She's just like, if you won't have your mother's love, then take your father's name, Maximus. And again, this should have been something that's revealed in the fucking movie, right? It's like, why they give that away? Obviously, I think it was in, like, when the first trailer went down like a fucking, like a ball of shit because of that music choice. The second trailer, that's when they showed all these action beats and showed the scene where he is, Maximus' son and stuff, probably as a direct reaction to the first trailer. But again, I just didn't care about anything in the first 2/3 of this movie. It's just plodding along. You're just going, I just fucking don't care. But anyway, we get then Connie Nielsen is telling Pedro that her son is alive and they need to get him out as soon as possible. And Pedro's like, well, you can't. It's the third day of the games tomorrow, which means, we're going to flood the Colosseum. It's like, and this is the worst scene in the movie for me. The big the big naval battle in the Colosseum. Do you want to take this one away? Because I know you love this scene so fucking much.
As I said earlier on, it's just, I get it. Like I said, these things were purpose built, but you've got a regularly normal full Colosseum with people in there. How did you get them in there and get the water in at the same time? Imagine the amount of water to fill that Colosseum to a point where the ships could float on it normally and properly turn and row in it, that it's deep enough that the sharks have to swim under and drag people down under the water. Like I said, the whole physics of it doesn't even matter. And then also, as I said, they have these things we see around the side, or like, say, a lion's head open, like a sprout, and the water is coming out of that. They're all around the place. So these things are as if they just flick a switch and the water comes in from fucking somewhere. Again, and the sharks. I
just don't know how they sealed it. How do they? Yeah. How do you seal that? Where you see gladiators come out of these doors that are just fucking just like cages, It's just like, so do you have water sealant? How does that work, and why would that be in place for something that you do sporadically? I think they did it like some old text. They said they did it once or twice. You're not going to purpose build something.
But even at that, it was. I think it was like it was a stage inside a stage almost. Like inside they had a purpose built thing inside the Colosseum, and they put the water in that. Whereas this is the full Colosseum is filled up as if it's fucking waterproof, and the water's not going to just rush back out the gates that are all around it. And like I said, again, with the sharks, how did you manage to get a whole mess of sharks? Like, I mean, even catching a shark back then must have been goddamn impossible. Then to transport it, the animal that pretty much needs to keep moving the whole time. You have to have big ass tanks to transport things all the way to Rome. And I get it. Artistic license is fine. We don't know everything exactly what happened this time, but this is fucking pushing it, man. Like this, the sharks are like the sharks
come across as something that in a writer's room someone said, "Oh yeah," and put some sharks in the water. Because like the times where sharks get fucking people under the water, they're already dead. They've been fucking knifed in the stomach, and then they fall off the ship, and then a shark grabs them. The sharks look fucking something out of Deep Blue Sea. It's fucking shocking, but it's like.
Hey. Let's not start throwing shade at Deep Blue Sea here, right? Deep Blue Sea catching strays. Goddamn last movie it is. Anyway,
the sequences are better than fucking this movie. But yeah, I just for such a massive spectacle, I wasn't bored, but I was definitely just watching it going, why? What the fuck what's the point of this? It just didn't work for me anyway. There were no claps in my cinema, but I know some people were kind of laughing and enjoying this part. But around this time, we start getting towards more interesting parts of the movie, where Pedro Pascal's character and Lucius's mum, their plan to free her son is thwarted because one of her maids or something hears something and tells Denzel Washington, and Denzel Washington then tells the Emperor about this whole thing, and the whole plan is thwarted, which is, an absolute fucking disaster. And Pedro Pascal and Connie are then rounded up, and the Emperors are going to fucking throw them to the dogs. But Denzel Washington asked the Emperors to not kill Pedro Pascal, but, put him in the Colosseum, let the gods decide. And you kind of go, oh, okay, here's the part from the trailer where Lucius and Pedro are going to fight, and this was kind of cool actually, because it's a pretty decent fight, and Paul Mescal's properly out to fucking kill this guy. But Pedro eventually surrenders, and the Emperor, gives the thumb down. But I think Pedro tells Lucius, like, whatever happens, I love your mother, and whatever, and just so
he knew your dad or something.
Yeah, he knew your dad, and just. So then Paul Mescal doesn't kill him and just kneels down beside him. And then Pedro Pascal gets about fucking 20 arrows in the fucking chest. It's just like, holy shit. I was like,
and this is another thing. They're kneeling maybe 2 feet from each other, max. They're like face to face. These arrows are coming from everywhere, and he doesn't even get nicked by an arrow. These guys are the best fucking shots of all time. They're like absolute every arrow in the world comes flying, they're hitting him in the back, in the front, the whole lot. And Paul
Yeah, because the
Mescal just
ones
sitting
in the
there.
front, the
touched.
ones in the front would have had to like narrowly pass by uh, Paul Mescal's fucking ear to get him in the chest. It's just like, how?
Some of them must have gone through Paul Mescal and came out the other side, like he's got a portal in the middle of his chest, because they're all over the front of Pedro Pascal and in the back, and yet not a graze on Paul Mescal. Just like, damn. That's like that episode of, it is once again another Pulp Fiction reference, where your man comes out, just empties the fucking but look at each other going nothing. Like it's unreal. Best archers of all time.
But yeah, then Paul Mescal stands up and, chants at the crowd. He's just like, if your life has no meaning, or if his life has no meaning, what are yours worth? And all this stuff. And the crowd starts to turn a little bit. And later on, there's another scene where Denzel meets with Paul, and he says, like, your dad's dream of Rome. It's an old man's tale. You are my instrument, and all this kind of stuff. And you realize, he's the big bad. Oh my God. Shock horror. Denzel Washington is a main character in this movie. And Paul says he's going to fucking end him. And end him he does later on. But then, there's riots in the streets. And Denzel then uses this divide to divide the twins and manipulate the simpler one to maybe take out his brother. And again, you're thinking, like, this part is kind of cool, but his whole plan up to this point is just like wrote a lot of luck on Paul Mescal being the gladiator he is. Like, it's very like, there's a lot of convenience in his control. But the younger brother, the younger twin, kills the older twin. That was pretty fucking graphic. Like, he kind of slices his neck, and then Denzel Washington comes over, grabs his hand, starts fucking stabbing him and stuff, and it's just like, holy shit. And like, next scene, he fucking decapitates him and shows him to the fucking Senate, and it's just, that was pretty horrible, where he's just chatting away with this little fucking head on a pedestal to the whole Senate. Pretty graphic.
I love when he gets, because before that part, he's getting, it's the younger twin. Is it Gaeta or Gala or something? Is his name?
And something more crazy name.
And so he's letting him know that he's talking about how he's going to elevate Denzel Washington and be like on his right hand man. But he says, my first counsel or whatever it is, and he names his monkey. He has like this tiny little capuchin monkey, and he's like, this is fucking something beginning with a D. I can't remember the name. But he's like, this is fucking whatever, Dave, my monkey, and he's going to be second in command. And then after that, then we've got Denzel Washington, and he's going to be an after. It's like, Jesus, like, I'll talk about prestige. You're down below the rung below the fucking monkey.
Yeah.
But he again, this is just him wanting to get power, and so he's basically Jafar from Aladdin,
Yeah.
But he's it's again, I think so many things had to fall into place. Like, he didn't even know about the plan until that other guy that's on the Senate. He kind of bribes him, and he owes him some information because he made wagers that he's lost and stuff. Yeah, and like, a lot of sexual tension between the two of them as well. There's a lot. There's a fair bit of that threaded. Like, I think they make a lot of characters, even from the first one. They said they kind of retroactively kind of make what's his face, Joaquin Phoenix's character gay, because that's how they explain why Lucius is not his son. They're like, well, he was into dudes, and then that's why that then straight away then he goes, me too. And then but like, it's again, that if he didn't find that plan, if he didn't find that plan from that dude, which was just fortuitous, then none of this would have happened, And it's just, again, if this is some big grand scheme, it's fucking built on a house of cards, like, Anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, the Denzel then, like, he meets Connie, and this is another kind of reveal. He's just like, he was once owned, and now he owns an empire, and he shows his slaver's mark, and you're kind of going, that's not even a reveal, because it was kind of like it's not actually told to you, but because you've seen the first movie. You're just like, well, betcha you were a slave. Like, it was just, ta-da! Just like, that's fucking ridiculous. But anyway, Paul breaks out of his cell and dons his dad's gear. And his mum is being held in the Gladiator arena, and he heads out as her sole protector. and surrounded by a load of fucking dudes or whatever. And then Denzel Washington shoots his mother in the fucking chest. Another great shot, just like right bang in the middle, like.
We should say though, I think that there's before this, there's a part with your man Ravi, the doctor. So this was another.
Yeah.
This was another. That this was there. I was convinced that they were gonna fuck, like him and Petro or Paul Mescal.
Yeah,
there was serious chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah.
I was like, am I the only one seeing this? Like, this is a horny ass movie. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, because he's talking to him and he explains to him who he is, and he said, well, I got to have this ring here that belonged to Petro Pascal, which belonged to my grandfather, and and belonged to Maximus, and he says that there's his whole army, Pedro Pascal's army, which was waiting, was going to be the plan to take over the city. They're sitting there without orders because Pedro Pascal is dead. Now go and ride there and give them that and tell them I need them to come here and fight to free Rome from these two fucking lunatic emperors. And while he's gone off to do that, he gets him to leave his keys behind because he's the doctor. He has all the keys.
Oh yeah.
And so they just plan on going to that Pedro Pascal out, but he has already unlocked all the doors for all the other slaves as well, and fucking got them going like a goddamn army ready to go. So when he thinks he's going to be fighting all these Praetorian Guard on his own, fucking dudes just come flying out from everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's just a big ass battle,
battle, like swords and shields, man. It's fucking good. And then, I really wasn't expecting his mother to bite the bullet. But yeah, an amazing shot by Denzel Washington from 80 yards away, just straight into her fucking chest. And I love when they always get hit in the chest. It's right in the middle. It's right in the fucking middle.
Oh yeah.
It's and that's and obviously that's a very fucking sad moment. But the movie moves, like, obviously it's the tensions are, and the scene is fucking crazy. But like we get kind of a little look from Paul, just like his mum's dead, and we kind of move on very quickly from that, which I was like, I'd like a fucking scene where he's properly. Yeah, I know he doesn't have time, but properly mourn his mother. But he goes after Denzel, and this one of my problems. Like, I'm sure Denzel read the script and kind of went, "Hold on, can I have a battle where I kind of beat the shit out of this guy for a little bit?" And just like, yeah, but you're like 65 or something. And how he gets the better, like, set the scene. Like, Denzel Washington is basically trapped by both sides of the army outside the gates, and himself and Paul have a little fisticuff, and for a good bit of it he beats the living shit out of Paul Mescal, which you're going,
it's just as well Paul Mescal's armor, like every strike of that armor just happened to hit the metal bits on Paul Mescal's part and didn't kill, because he's gone full force.
He would have been dead.
He would slamming it down, and it's just all you hear is this. They very purposely obviously show the clink clink as it's just hitting the horses, because the thing he's wearing is just made of leather. Like, that thing should have fucking stabbed him a bunch of times, but he just kept hitting the horses on his chest, and so he wasn't actually getting the stabs in.
So this hero was inches from being bested by a politician in his 60s, which is just kind of silly. But then Paul rises up and chops his fucking arm off, and it's pretty fucking cool, and kills him. But I thought that was just such an anticlimactic fight scene. It was a cool fucking death. Like, it was a cool death. Like, he chops off his hand, and he's fucking, and then stabs him, and he sinks into the water. Like, but it's the next part though is the kind of part that bothered me. It always bothers me about these movies that are set ages ago, is that you've got one army on one side, and these are the guys that have come along to overthrow the emperor. On the other side, you have the Praetorian Guard, who, yes, they work for the emperor. They don't particularly like him because Rome has gone to shit because of these two dudes. And Paul Mescal's in the middle, and these guys are stretching back for fucking, a mile, because there's so many of them across up on fucking fields and everything. And he's having a speech to the two of them, armies on either side, about, we were going to overthrow it. My grandfather had a dream, and that. And he's giving this big speech to unite them all. And then all of them all agree with him, and it's all, yeah, both sides are sorry. How the fuck, how the fuck did anybody observe silence? If you ever been to a football match, people can't even stay quiet for a minute. Silence. Like, anyone past the third row of that fucking army can't hear shit, like, because he's not screaming, he's just talking. He's just like, my father dreamed about this, and you're guaranteed, like, 4 rows back, people are like, what the fuck is he talking about? Something about, yeah.
Blessed are the cheesemakers. it's Yeah, like I think I just as a side thing, I know it's not a great movie, but Shazam does a piss take on that, and it's really good when he's up in the air and Mark Strong is up in the air and they're miles apart, and Mark Strong
Yeah.
is giving his big evil bad guy speech. But of
God.
course, because he's miles away, you see him go, "Can you?" And then it cuts back to him, and he can't hear a word Mark Strong is saying. I can't hear you. You're miles away. Like, and it's just it's that was a really good part of a really shit movie. But that's what it's like here. Like, how the fuck did both of these fucking armies hear that? It's wild.
It's a bit silly, but like that's even that final speech is it's kind of a bit meh. Doesn't really. It's not the powerful epic fucking ending. It just kind of peters out a bit, this movie. But then we hear it. That iconic Hans Zimmer, Lisa Gerrard fucking end tune comes in. You're just like, it's straight away you're elevated by like just the first 5 fucking seconds of that music. It's just like, oh wow, it's
and incredible,
then that's such amazing music. And then Paul Mescal goes, "Speak to me, Father," and then we get a shot of Russell Crowe's hand from the first movie going over all the fucking wheat and that's it.
Well, I wasn't sure if he was because he goes in, he collapses on the ground, he goes back in looking for his mom, and they've obviously taken her down off the thing, and the Colosseum is empty. Not a sinner in there, and he goes down and he starts picking up the dirt from the ground, holding his hand, and says. And I thought when the camera started zooming around to the side of him, I thought they were going to show like a mortal wound or something in him, like I think he's now going to die in the same arena that his father. I thought that's what it was. So at the end, I was wondering, is he dead? Because they show Russell Crowe's kind of thing, the hands going across the field or whatever.
Speak to me, Father, and then show that, and the thing is,
so I was wondering, is he dead then?
Taken from the first movie. It's just a shot from the first movie. It's not repurposed or refilmed or anything, and I just didn't understand what the point of that was. Just like, again, reminding me of a better movie.
I was wondering if that's what it was, that he was dying. That's what they were showing, that he was dead. But they need to show that he got stabbed or he got injured. But we don't really see Denzel
blood dripping on the stand or something like that. Yeah, it just I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah,
because surely they're just going to make it another movie with Paul Mescal in it. But yeah, it was.
Yeah. But I didn't think that maybe fucking that Nick Cave movie will get made. Yeah. But the two of them, just Russell Crowe and Paul Mescal teaming up.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's. I think the most interesting part of that this movie was that final act. I mean, conveniences aside for Denzel's plan, but like I thought that the last act was more interesting than everything that preceded it. But it was following stuff that was cool.
How he kills the emperor who's still alive, the kid, whatever, the other kid, like, and he stabs him and he pulls at this like needle fucking thing and just goes straight through his fucking ear into his brain. Like
that
was awesome.
It's nice because I think it was more interesting because you just didn't know really what was going to happen. You were kind of like, oh, this is like watching just a proper movie that's not a retread of very familiar story beats from the first one. But because the first hour and 40 minutes just wasn't engaging with it because it's so similar that when this interesting part happened, I wasn't engaged enough to really care as much as I probably should have. And I know that's kind of a personal thing that I just couldn't get away from the fact that it felt like I'd seen this movie before. But I imagine that if somebody got over that and was watching this and was thoroughly engaged in this story, or even hadn't seen the first one, I couldn't remember it, you would come out going, fucking hell, that was pretty good, like. But I just didn't really care for enough of it to give a shit at the end. And the best things were just the killings of the emperors, I think, and Denzel losing his hand. But everything apart from that, like even when his mother gets killed, the movie doesn't linger enough for you to feel the loss, if you know what I mean. It's just
and it's the same. It's the same with his wife though. Like his wife and mom both get shot exact same spot, the arrow, smack bang in the middle of the chest. But like we've barely built up their relationship at the start. Like we get there, she's hanging out clothes, he's tending to some crops or whatever, and they have a kiss, and then listen, the Romans are attacking, and so they both get into their gear to go and fight. But like I barely get any sort of time with her to kind of feel to kind of go, is she that much of a loss? Because she's gone in the first fucking couple of minutes, and then we're just bam into Gladiator mode. Like it's, I don't know. It was like, again, I think I would agree with you, Daz. Like it's just fine. It's okay. Like I think honestly, if this was on telly and I flicked past, I'd probably leave it on just because there is some cool stuff in it and stuff, and it's not terrible or anything. There's just some again with Denzel or Ridley Scott and his weird choices. Like I'm not sure what's going. There's going to be aliens in the third one, probably. I don't know. Like, but anyway.
But yeah, it's just kind of solid 3-star. Just should have been better. You know, I mean, just really shouldn't have been better. Just weird choices, like for a movie like this, where the most interesting and most interesting scenes were not the big show-stopping scenes. It was simple one-on-one fights. There's one fight where he fights someone at one of those kind of gala party things, like when this amazingly gay event. It's brilliant. It's just like everything's lavish and crazy, and then he's just beating the shit out of some dude for their amusement and enjoyment. And that fight was better than anything better than the fucking rhino and the naval battle. And that's
I wasn't asking you about one of the fights, right? So the time when he breaks out, right? When he breaks out and breaks all his mates out for the big fight, when he goes right, it's kind of a ceremony thing where your mom is going to be tied up and chained to this yoke, and it's going to be you against Praetorian Guard, and it's supposed to be a big spectacle. One guy protecting his mother, blah blah blah. And he goes, the dude walks up to them, who's the slavers, who's Denzel Washington's second in command. He goes, here's your wooden swords. Don't act like you don't have anything to use, And he gives him a wooden sword, right? Not realizing Paul Mescal has the gate unlocked, and he fucking slams it in his face. So Paul Mescal gets the fucking wooden sword, right? And he's pushing it down into your man's throat. And he says a line like, "It doesn't matter if it's metal or a steel, it still has a point." And I was like, is that a reference to something? It was such a weird line. Like, he's like, it doesn't matter if it's sword or wood or steel or something like that. It still has a point. Like, what? Is that a reference to that? Is that supposed to be? I was like, is that supposed to be clever, or is it a reference to something that was mentioned earlier? Like, I don't know. I don't know what that was in reference to. I was like, that's such a weird line.
It's that reminded me of like the thing with Heretic last week when he's talking about the walls and the sign. I just need to tell you there's metal in the walls and see. Hugh Grant. That it's similar thing with this one. When he said that line, you're just like, why? That's just like, is that supposed to be a cool quip that you're just telling a dying man?
Yeah, because
like, why
that's what was like, is it a call? Yeah, I was like, is it a callback? Is it something? I don't know. But anyway.
I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. But so 3 stars. Yeah, go see it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fun. It is, yeah. Fair play, Dasman. You can manage to condense a 2.5-hour movie into an hour. That's or less than an hour. That's pretty damn impressive. So like we go and check it out if you want, but because it's for the spectacle, but it is a fairly average movie. So look, we will see you on the next one, and if you wouldn't mind doing the usual, liking, subscribing, commenting, send us an email, whatever the hell you want, all that's great help to us. So thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Ciao.